Hey guys, welcome to another episode of me blabbering on my own posts. Gonna talk about a bunch of things today: AGI, woo, moonshots, podcasting. Let's start with one of my first posts. I thought that it brought a lot of thoughts to my brain. I basically went to the restaurants as I usually do, and we discovered this ramen spot here in Oaxaca. We did that yesterday, and they had a beeper on the table. I really liked the experience as well. You know, it was like a Japanese. There were rose petals on the ceiling. They had Japanese music playing on a screen from a Chromecast. They had essential oils, so it was a nice little experience from the get go. But yeah, notice this small device on the table, and I could press order, pay a bill, or question. And every time I would beep those, the waiter would come to me, and I thought like, oh, that's the first time, like probably ever. I mean, I'm probably exaggerating this. Maybe it happened once, or I didn't even notice. But yeah, there was this device on the table. And one first insight that I have here is that customers get so used to like the old school way of things that they don't even notice that. At first, I was like, "What is this?" You know. And then my wife told me. The waiter also explained to us what it was for by probably ignore her indications, and the waiter came anyway before we actually pressed the device, which was interesting. So the waiter knew that we were probably not accustomed to that device. So that brought in many questions in my mind as a restaurant goer, someone that is constantly being ignored by waiters. You know, why does it take so long for innovation to hit industries? Is it because the consumers are uncomfortable with that? Is it because laziness? Is it because restaurant owners don't even dine at their own restaurants? And that is like entry level restaurants, I'd say, because I think that Michelin starred restaurants, like I like going to these restaurants. These waiters will have elite level of service, right? They'll have a technique in which they will see the full room, right? And they will scan to make potential eye contacts with the customers so that customers get instantly what they want. But I think even better than that, it's still the eye contact. They should have the device to push the numbers, right? And that brought me to various obvious things and why things are not obvious, like Google not being able to catch up with ChatGPT. Well, not so obvious. They need to develop that AI and so forth. But why would a behemoth like Google, with all of his resource, take so much time in catching up? Like, how many times do I get the results that I want on ChatGPT and I'm not getting them on Google? I did a simple search on Google. I wrote NZT pill because I forgot like what was the modern substance for that. Google answer with all kinds of bullshit. Didn't find the information that I found. I wrote it on GPT, and GPT was like modafinil. That was the choice number two, right? So it's like if GPT is constantly reading in my brain and knows what I want, right? Google is not. And that came because I referred a supplement to someone, and then the supplement that I referred to them, like I'm not liking the relationship that I have with the affiliate manager of theirs. I'm like, why is this guy that way? Why are affiliate program managers still pushing you in the ass and thinking that they will bring performance out of you? You know, not to mention that yeah, they're idiots. They're total idiots. With like mavericks like myself, you don't push me. You know, I'm pushing myself. I'll push you for sure, especially if you're an employee, right? This guy keeps adding like negativity to the program, and the effect of that is I'm not referring them. So anyway, it's like common stuff that way. Like, why does it take so long for humans to understand stuff? That's a question that was left in my mind after that. And yeah, I go in rabbit holes, but I mean that's how my brain works. I think usually at one thought leads to another, and then that's how you get insights ultimately. Another yeah thought that I had today while meditating was like, why does the brain always thinks in fear? You know, I'm going to visit beachside properties this weekend, and I had a vision of like me swimming open in the ocean from one beach to the next. Why do I have fear? Like, oh, will a shark eat me or something like that? We always think in fear. Oh, if I go on my motocross and I fall, I crack my head like a melon on a rock? No. I think we should rewire thinking and think more in terms of excitement, right? Like we're wired to think negatively. Anyway, I thought I'd share that as well, as these chronicles are always about sharing what's in my mind and getting feedback from that. Next post that I wrote today is that, yeah, founders need a dose of woo woo, talking about meditation and visions. Um, some of the best founders that I know are faith driven as well. I wouldn't go as extreme as like faith driven, because that means you're putting quite a substantial amount of your life into religion, God's hand, or whatever. I think I'd reach like probably 10% woo woo stuff in your life and 90% rationality, case science. It's a good ratio. And the woo woo stuff, the God stuff is like what you don't know, sort of. I think that's a ratio um, that we can operate in the business field as well. Like I'm not talking about understanding quantum physics and the brain, um, but yeah, have a little spice, a woo woo spice in your life. I think that can bring you like extra motivation and make stuff less boring. You get really stiff when you don't have that esoteric aspect in your life. The next post that I wrote, I'm often speaking about that, is moonshotting, right? If you moonshot, you'll land in the stratosphere. Most people aim for the hill and end up in the gutter, right? Like I think I certainly know a couple of friends that are aiming so fucking low. I mean, from the get go, that I don't think they even believe in ambition, or they just stop trying. I would understand why as well, because this game is friggin' hard. It's not for everyone. And by the way, me saying this game is friggin' hard can hit the brain in two ways, as I was speaking to earlier. It can reach your amygdala, right? The fear center in your brain, or can hit the fun part in your brain. Like myself, I think anything that's hard is fun. That's where I derive most of my fun nowadays. Um, so yeah, it's like aim high in this life. And just one quick parenthesis as per why ambition is important. Well, first it's a market, right? So like ambitious people like me, they'll probably take for you at some point, making it very hard for you to earn a living. Or if you're comparing yourself, won't be super fun. Being ambitious is like aligned with the laws of evolution as well, and constantly growing. You just become better and better on a daily basis, not just financially, but as a human being. You keep on growing, right? You just become a better person. That is, if you have your shit together and you're pretty holistic in your approaches. You're not only business oriented. Um, and yeah, being ambitious, I think if if you have heart, you will do good at scale, which is also important in this life, the contribution aspect. People that are not ambitious, they just sit at their home. They might donate, I don't know, lifetime 5K to a cause. I might donate like 5 to 50 to 500 million to one cause. Will I have taken more than these people is a good question. If you have efficient systems, if you constantly innovate and use the latest tech, I don't think you should take more, right? It's like hydroelectricity vs like pure gas electricity, right? It is possible in this life to not lose much. Um, so yeah, if the next post here is, yeah, about burnout, as like, dear founders, some of you have been burning yourself out in the past couple of years in the hopes of a great exit. This looks fun and all, but think not only in terms of net worth, but your net remaining years to live on this planet Earth. Say you sacrifice 10 years of your life in the last three startup years while not having much fun memory. Why are you doing this? Do you think a couple of millions will buy back these last year? Think more scalably and take intelligent risk. It's not because someone in Silicon Valley says consulting doesn't scale. That's the truth. It's not because someone raised funds that you need to do the same. You need to have a vision. You need to aspire, but you also need some real sense. So what I advise founders to do is to start a podcast funnel, right? And then have the consulting on the back end of that. And once you taste money with consulting, and you have a bunch of clients and you have data, then you can start a bunch of other startups and expand your portfolio, right? It's important to taste money because if you don't, you'll think like money is this game changing thing, and for 10 years of your life you'll rot in some hole. Then you'll come back and you'll taste money, you'll spend it, and you'll realize it's not that game changing, right? Most of your problems won't go away. Um, that is the truth, right? And it's a more scalable, it's a safer approach to make it from a business sense. Uh, you probably have a 10% chance of making it as a founder. Uh, Nowadays, if you've got fundraise, well, if you go with this approach, you're probably more in the 75, 85% realm. I think we'll be surprised also with bootstrap business how well they'll do in the age of AI. Could potentially disrupt the VC market, but let's see. I still wrote another post about podcasting today. Some guy reached out saying he could have me on his pod for $15,000. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm not even sure if I should explain that, but I think sometimes shaking the waters and using like pretty obvious posts like this one's a good way to, yeah, enlighten uh, some topics, right? Like this guy, he's eliminating probably 99% of people that would pay him probably 100K, a million in the next years or decade with this approach, Um, Maybe he was trolling. That's another possibility, but yeah, generally, if you charge people for podcasts, I think you're just not being creative and you just don't have a funnel that's set up. You've not tested enough things over time. You should have a funnel instead. You should filter people that come on your pod, have a high quality podcast, and so forth. And that way, you can have people enter your funnel. These people can pay you for your consulting, and eventually, you can even become business partners with them. Next was about billionaires, like, and people with a lot of zeros in their bank account. Some of them are the most greediest and thriftiest people out there. So it's not because they're rich that they'll buy your stuff. Know that, like Warren Buffett wouldn't spend shit on Rolex or I don't know, Maybach. So who I'm aiming for nowadays is also great spenders, people that are not afraid of spending it. I think also these people, if they're constantly experimenting on their spends, their intelligent spends, they will win much more. Warren is such an outlier, so I don't think it's the best example there. But there's a lot of thrifty people. I mean, Warren, what is he buying, right? Stocks. If you're in the stock business, might be a good deal to have him as a client. The B2B space, but it's not because someone is rich that they'll buy your services. Another point right there, I see a lot of founders with great products but no sales. A good example of why this will never work. I listen to top artists on a daily basis on my Apple Music. These people, they have amazing products, they make amazing songs, but I've paid them like pennies, right, over the last decades of my life. It's super pathetic. So they have the best product, but they have no sales. So you need to have sales. Why? Because most humans are greedy. Most humans won't pay you until you ask them. It doesn't come natural for people to give out money like that and donate and experiment on their spends, but you need sales. The best companies, they have both. They have products and they have sales. Seeing life objectively weeds out the drama and makes the selling smoother. It's what I wrote the other day. Quite true. A lot of people, they fall victims to their emotions. You know, they get pissed at stuff. From the start, most people aren't bio optimized. That's why they get angry. They don't even know. But when you see life in numbers, in experiments, in scientific terms, it removes a lot of the unknowns and it removes a lot of the frustration. So instead of like being transported by the oceans, aka your emotion, yeah, it pays off much more in terms of energy efficiency when you think in numbers, you think in objective terms. Important to mention in a world that is highly emotional nowadays. Rejection's a topic I often get asked about. So yeah, like how I see rejection. Well, first they're the one missing out. Second, it's feedback, and third, if even if I like them and they refuse me today, and they might say yes ultimately, especially if you're the black hole type. It's not that cold email is not working, is that your offer is not good enough. That is quite striking. High pressure sales vs how I sell, which is value based, right? You fill someone's glass with water, and when it overfills, that means that they're paying you. Yeah, short term sales is short sightedness, right? The high pressure sales, buy this now, and you need to have some natural scarcity. I often repeat, but most importantly, you need to be the person you'd like for you to surround yourself with. So, what I mean by that is, I'd love to surround myself with people that always give me value, that refer me clients, that are insightful, you know, and that's how I am. So instead of like pressure closing people and treating them like pieces of shit, like a lot of sales guru do nowadays, you should, yeah, add value to them. Eventually, they're going to close themselves, which is somewhat contrarian. And eventually, they're going to become way more than clients. They're going to become friends and business partners. And then you can aim for the millions instead of going for the short term 15K like I explained earlier today. Gonna leave it to that. Need to attend the Feria del Tamal here in Oaxaca. So hope that you guys could get value out of this. As usual, send me your questions by email.